Check. 1, 2. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is POV Pool, and today's our live Wednesday grind. Now, the live Wednesday grind, I originally started that up as part of an agreement with Tiger Products in Burbank. Tony K over at Tiger. And I arranged to create like a safe space for me to play pool at once a week and stream it to you guys live. But unfortunately, this week, Tony, and shout out to Tony, by the way, Tony is doing a little bit of remodeling over at his showroom. So he's just working to make it look better. So no big emergencies with Tony at Tiger, but we did have to cancel this week's Wednesday grind. I did call around to some friends of mine to see if I could, go to their homes and play pool and stream from their house. But I ran into some problems with that as well. And plus, I don't really want to expose myself to too many people. So, although I'm being safe and, taking the best precautions that I can take to not get the coronavirus. So with that, I just want to give a shout out to Tony at Tiger Products. Thank you very much for letting me come over on Wednesdays to do the live Wednesday grind. And by the way, I want to say hi to Edgy Geronimo. He called me this morning. He says, hey, are you going to Tiger? I want to come play with you again. But I had to let him down easy. And I told him that I'd play him next week. He played, I don't know, Edgy played like Dexter and a bunch of other guys yesterday live on D-Real Promotions on Facebook. I'm just overwhelmed by the number of people that are streaming on Facebook. I mean, if you were to go to Facebook now, you'd probably see 10 people streaming pool matches from their house, So it's just amazing to see this, to see all these people sharing and playing still. And I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see people still, not putting the cue away totally, and I know there are a lot of people that can't play. I'm one of them. And I really miss the game. But with that, I don't want to like harp too much. I want to play something for you that is very important. Today is Tuesday. No, today is today Tuesday? Today's Wednesday, May 6th. And last night, on May 5th, I had an interview with 3 individuals who are insiders. I consider them to be insiders to the pool industry. Jerry Machen, the owner of Sticks Billiards in Ventura, California. Chris Swart, the owner of California Billiards in Fremont, California. And also Gilbert Najm, who is the chairman of the billiard curriculum at the billiard program at the Elks Lodge in Burbank, California. Now, the reason I did this interview with them is because they're all closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown order from the state, from the governor, and the shutdown order for all businesses except for non-essential, or all non-essential businesses to shut down, and in order to comply with the lockdown order. So I thought it would be helpful to form sort of a symposium of people that, I expressed myself completely in the interview. So I'm going to play this interview for you guys in its entirety. I do plan on releasing clips of the interview separately, but I wanted you guys to have a look at the unedited version of this interview as it played out last night. It's 2 hours long. And I think it's very important that if you are connected to a pool room, if you're a regular, if you're wondering when you're going to open again, man, even if you're just a regular business owner or you're just an employee looking to get back to work, I think it's important to take a look at this. Even if you follow politics or you just want to know what's going on in the country right now, this is like real stuff that's going on. I'm trying to keep my boots on the ground here to provide you guys with what's really going on instead of what you guys are bombarded with in the media. You know, these guys, this is information from the horse's mouth. So with that, I'm just going to play this interview for you guys. It's an hour and 45 minutes. And I want to thank Jerry Machen, Chris Swart, Gilbert Najm in advance before I play this interview. I want to thank you guys for spending the time with me last night. And I do also plan on doing some follow-up interviews with these guys too. So with that, I also want to remind you guys that on Wednesdays and on Sundays, I am going to continue to try to stream live for you, whether it be me playing on a pool table, whether or not I'm playing an old match from the Andy Mercer event, or whether or not we do a live interview. I will do something on Wednesdays and Sundays with you guys, at least until we get through this pandemic, and so that we can start healing again and getting our lives back on track. So with that, keep loving pool, and in this particular case, let's try to keep the pool halls alive. Thanks, everyone. Hi, everybody. Today is Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, and I'm in Los Angeles, California at POV Pool headquarters. And today I have some very special guests with me who all have a unique experience, but also have some of the same, they share some of the same responsibilities. These three men are either owners of their own rooms or they are overseeing their own rooms for pool and billiards. One of them is Chris Swart of California Billiards in Fremont, California. The other is Jerry Machen of Sticks Billiards in Ventura, California. And the other one is Gilbert Najm. He doesn't own the billiard room that he oversees. He's the chairman of the billiard curriculum at the Elks Lodge in Burbank, California. So without further ado, we are all here together to discuss the current crisis, let's call it, pandemic, lockdown. These three guys, they want to get their rooms back open. And I thought that it would be helpful to have a sort of a symposium with these guys to share some ideas and their opinions as well. Some of it's not going to be too easy to hear, but it's necessary because there are a lot of rooms across the country right now struggling, wondering how they're going to make it and how they're going to get opened up again. And I'm sure that these three men are also asking some of those same questions. So without further ado, I want to give these guys a minute to introduce themselves individually, and then we can go ahead and get started with some of the tough questions here to talk about this pandemic situation. So thanks for watching. Jerry, why don't we start with you?
Hi, Daniel, Gilbert, Chris. Thanks for having me and having me be part of this group. I'm Jerry Matchin. I was on your podcast last Sunday when you interviewed me up at my room in Ventura. I'm the owner of Sticks Billiards in Ventura. I'm 72 years old. I'm a retired nurse of 40 years for the County of Los Angeles, and I've been an active pool player and sometimes billiard player since I was about 14 or 15 years old. So I have a long time in the sport. I'm a room owner who owns his own room, owns the building, and I know we'll be talking about that later, but suffice it to say, I hope that I'm able to contribute something meaningful to tonight's discussion.
Okay, cool. And Chris?
Chris Swart. I'm owner of California Billiards in Fremont. I basically have the largest room in California, 15,000 square foot. I wish I owned the building. I don't. I lease it. My background is more of construction. I bought into this business as something on the side, but it ended up being more of a full-time position, especially when 9/11 happened. So I've been through a little bit of stuff with 9/11 and suffering, and now, we're going through this thing, but it's a pleasure to be here. And I can't wait to hear from Jerry and Gilbert, and of course you, Daniel, and hopefully we have some advice and some things that will help people out there and other room owners help through their suffering right now.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Gilbert?
Hi, everybody. My name is Gilbert Najm. A little bit background. I'm an architect actually who loves billiards and try to oversees the billiard room at the Elks in Burbank. I've been doing it for the past 9 years. At the same time, I have a couple of businesses in gas station, and we own the business and the land. So I'm trying to have a little bit input, try to manage what we have at the moment. And I'm really glad that to be part of this group, and hope we learn. I'm sure from Chris and Jerry and you, Daniel, it's a learning experience, and see how we're gonna open up soon.
Yeah. So actually, that's something that I overlooked about you, Gilbert. You own a gas station, so you're actually considered an essential business, isn't that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And that's two gas stations.
Correct.
So you've stayed open.
Well, you stay open when you have 20% of business. You stay open, but when everybody's home, you basically have less revenue and less business.
Yeah.
So you cannot claim many things, but at the same time, you deal with the fact.
Yeah. I suppose it's just coincidence too that we just have that added perspective that you own an essential business. That's something that these guys are not considered as essential. So we really value your being here.
Thank you.
So okay, real quick, what's your room capacity? I know that you're all sort of different as far as sizes go. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Our room, we have like around, I think the capacity around 58 person that can be at the room at the same time.
58 people.
58 people. And we have 5 billiard tables, 1 golf tables, and 1 pool table.
Okay. 58.
58.
So Chris, you would be probably considered on the opposite side of the spectrum, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 695.
600. That's your capacity.
That's my capacity.
Okay. Jerry?
Interestingly enough, my capacity is 299 for a 5,000 square foot building. My architect was able to negotiate with the city planner on that. So, but there's no way I could ever get 299 people in there. It's more realistic for me at probably about 150, 175.
Okay. Do you guys have any opinions about whether or not you should be viewed differently by local agencies as to whether or not, you would, as far as risk assessment, do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Well, personally for me, I'm actually classified as a restaurant first, then a pool room and billiards. So technically I could open at a smaller capacity, but the reality is I don't know too many people that are driving to a pool room to eat takeout food. It's just not something that's happening.
Right. So you could be doing curbside pickup and all that right now.
I could. Unfortunately for me, of course, they're doing construction on the building in the parking lot, so that kind of takes that away from me a little bit. But
They're still working on that place next door.
yeah.
Okay. All right. What about you, Jerry?
I have 3 licenses. I have an a beer license, not beer and wine, straight beer. I have a recreation license, and I'll get back to that in a second. And I have a restaurant license. Although I don't have fire suppression like Chris has in his room, I can use panini grills and things like closed systems. I can use that.
Okay.
My recreation license supersedes the other 2 because I can have any age in there unaccompanied, and they can sit at the bar right next to somebody that's drinking a beer.
Yeah.
So I have a kind of a unique license like that.
Okay.
I don't know which one I fall under actually to this day. I kind of think I would fall probably under the restaurant guidelines and standalone bar guidelines. They've got right down to it.
Okay, but aside from licenses, what you qualify as right now, aside from all that, you're all 3 different capacity. Do you think capacity should be a factor? Like, say Gilbert says, like, I'm a capacity of 58 people. That's per square foot, ratio, whatever it is. Do you think it would, you could say, like, this is an easier environment to control. I should open sooner than this pool hall that takes 695 people. Is that?
Well,
Are there any opinions on that from you guys? Or?
Go ahead, Gilbert.
I think scale of project plays a big role in the business. We're talking about bigger rent, higher rent margin, more employees, higher utility bills. So I would think like Chris' room and Jerry are like really, really very hard to manage and to operate. And I'm sure we all know average how much the rent of the square feet and versus your employees, your return on the money, especially in billiards and pool. I want to talk, I'm a billiard player, I love pool, so sometimes if I mention billiards, it doesn't mean like I mention only overall the game in general. These tables takes a lot of space. Even between billiard or pool, the 5 by 10 for billiards, 4.5 by 9 for pool, and the circulation, it takes a lot of space. And nowadays the rent becomes so expensive that the $10 or $12 an hour for the business doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a restaurant, if you don't have a bigger operation, beer and wine, or other income. I'm just talking like, so scale plays like a main role in any business, especially the pool room business.
Okay. Well, I don't want to split hairs here, and I know that some people might be saying this doesn't even play a factor at all. It all comes down to manageability. So I don't really want to. Let's not belabor the subject of capacity right now. But before I ask you the really tough questions, I just want to say too that it's been 1 week since Governor Newsom announced a 4-stage plan to reopen businesses in California and locations of public gatherings. And those 4 stages, they basically categorize businesses between various gradients of risk versus whether or not they're actually essential. And so the state's also going to be announcing like readiness and compliance guidelines, but maybe you guys know something I don't, but I don't see those guidelines being published anywhere. They're saying that they're not even out yet until the coming days from now. And they've also got a report card that says they're already ready to go into stage 2 of this opening of these businesses. You guys, as a pool room, I think you qualify as a stage 3 business. Is that correct? Or are you even aware of this?
I'm gonna say that we are last stage. Whatever the stage is going to be, anything that has to do with entertainment or it is going to be last. It's just reality. The reality is we're first to close. We're the first ones on the bars, the theaters, and the entertainment. Basically, entertainment was first to close. Entertainment will be last to open. It makes sense. I'll just piece together real quick what I think of the stages. They don't make any sense, and they're not going to because they change every day. So the stages, their 4 stages or their 4 phases could be a week from now, could be 4 weeks from now. They don't know. I don't think any of us know. But I will say this. I believe that there's a huge amount of pressure right now, not only from business owners like ourselves, the economy. I think, and Jerry brought this up with me yesterday when we were talking, and he made perfect sense on it. We're not the only ones losing money. Government's losing money. States are losing money. Everybody's losing money. So the pressure to get things back to moving doesn't mean full force, but moving is going to force a lot of your politicians, your mayors, your governors to make faster decisions than I think they really want to, because I don't think they have a choice. And that's why I'm preparing for an opening pretty soon, because I see it coming. And the tests, the more they test, the more they're going to find people that have it. So the tests to me really don't matter to me. It's the deaths that matter to me. If the deaths don't move or they go down, then it doesn't really matter how many people have it. The deaths are the important part. And right now, I'm not seeing a lot of that movement, especially at least up here in Northern California, Bay Area. I don't know about Southern California, but that's the other thing too. Everything is different for everybody, no matter where you're at. Across the street. Country,
across the state.
Across the state, across the city. Things are different everywhere. So there is not going to be one, list of this is what we're going to do. And I don't think it's priority about essential either, because when you can open up flea markets and tattoo shops and barber shops already, then the essential part of it really doesn't make any sense to me. But I just think you got to hold out and you got to just be ready to open when it's time to open.
So you, what is? Anybody else want to add to that?
I'd like to, if I can. I agree with much of what Chris says, but I think there's other driving factors, and here's where we get into a little bit of the political and the medical side of it. The hotel, restaurant, bar, entertainment industry is a huge part of the economy in California. It's huge. And I don't think that the political part, keeping these folks at home on unemployment, some of them on unemployment, some of them not, certainly getting less money than they would get when they're working, is going to help the political part of this pandemic. There's a political part here, and there's a lot of pressure I think is going to be placed. I think Chris alluded to it a little bit. A lot of pressure is going to be placed on our mayors, our council members, our governor or assembly to open this up faster than maybe they want to open it up. I think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to let us have full occupancy. I think they're going to let us have something less than that, and I'm not sure what that formula would be. And just kind of throw us a bone, so to speak. But I expect that to happen sooner rather than later. Actually, Chris and I did talk about this yesterday, and we both kind of thought maybe June or July. I'm hoping and thinking that it might be before June 1st, that they're going to throw us a bone, let us have some ability to open, cut our occupancy down, things of that nature. I think they're going to have to get people back in the employment ranks again. That's just me.
Gil, you're in a bit of a different situation where, you know, this isn't necessarily an economy for you, because what you do is more provide a service to the community. I mean, as business owners, you guys are all providing a huge service to the community as entertainment venues, right? But Gil, but it's almost the same thing that you're doing, right, Gil? I mean, even though you're not profiting from the Elks Lodge pool room, the billiard room, you're still providing a valuable service that these guys are also doing. Is that correct?
Exactly. I mean, the Elks is a non-profit organization, but end of the day, you have expenses, and you have membership. And when you tell your members, I'm closing for a month or two, they're going to ask you for either their money, or they're going to say, I'm going to quit this year. It's many possibility out there. So, but I want to just mention something about, which is, as an essential business owner, we get into a guidelines that you were talking about. And in the business, in the gas station business, they allow 3 people inside the store at a time. We're talking 1,800 square feet. Part of it, of course, it's occupied by counters and stuff, but still they allow 3 people, and you have to wear a mask inside, and you have to have an access to wash your hands or sanitizers. That's
right.
That's from the health department.
I see.
They work with the city and they reinforce these. So basically, if you don't have a mask, you have the right to tell them, don't walk in my store, which is technically you can, but they're just like trying to mandate to everybody.
Okay.
So that's what I'm giving just to Krista and Jerry, that occupancy is going to be, as they mentioned, it's going to be like a role in the pool room. And I heard from the restaurant and the bar business, they're aiming into between around 25% occupancy at a time. That will raise many questions. How long, and who's going to pay the 75% rent for your landlord or for your bank as a mortgage? So these are tough situations for everybody.
Well,
I wanted to make a comment before I forget.
Go ahead.
We were talking about it, actually one subject prior. I actually, being a nurse, we did a lot of statistical data gathering. How long does it take to take a patient's temperature? How long does it take to, give them a shower? Things like that. They're called time and motion studies. So I applied some of those training principles that I got when I was in school and afterwards. How much is each customer worth to me? I literally tracked many years ago each person that walked in against my daily receipts. So for example, if I did $1,000 for the day and I had 100 customers, each customer was worth $10. And I'm going to probably have to do that again. I've done it a couple times over the years. It's just another way of looking at your business. Each person that walks in is worth something monetarily to you.
Well, you're really becoming a bean counter now, aren't you?
Well, you kind of have to, because go back to what Gilbert said about making sense out of your square footage, your cost, employees on duty. I mean, can you imagine? Chris needs probably a minimum of 4 employees on at any given time or more. So he's got those wages to pay, and he only can have, 10 people or 20 people walk in at any given time, and they're worth $10 a piece. That's almost not worth opening if he can't generate any income. Same with Gilbert. If he could only have 2 or 3 people walk into the gas station at a time, that could make it difficult to pay wages and stay open and sell gas where you're not selling any gas. And so anyway, I would recommend people look at really tracking the number of people that come into your business against your gross receipts, and looking at your value per customer. And maybe even Gilbert could do something like that with cars and Phillips. And I mean, I don't know how to project that out, but in my business, person equals dollars.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's going to have their own approach. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
All right. So I just wanted to kind of say something that Gilbert brought up, especially about the 25%. I'm going to be honest with you. 25% is better than 0% right now. And I don't care if they say I can only have 10% of people in there. That's opening the doors. I think once the doors get open, it's going to be a lot harder for them to close. So my situation is a little different. Obviously, I'm still paying rent. I'm paying rent whether I have 100,000 people in or 0 people. I'm personally paying my employees 75% what they normally get paid to keep them alive. I mean, to keep them
in order to retain them.
Right. So 25% to me is like, yay, I'll take that all day long. Let me open up. Let's get it going. Am I going to probably lose? Am I going to lose? No, because I'm losing now. So the only thing that's going to help is to get some kind of revenue, because I've got an egg of revenue. It is 0. And so I don't think people really understand that the reality of a complete closure is mine was May 15th, basically May 16th. I got goose eggs, and I'm goose egg all the way through. And yet my bills, most of them I've been able to reason out, but my rent is rent and my employees are employees. But the one thing that I'm glad that you do have Gilbert on here for, because he brings up something I didn't think about, especially when it comes to the essential businesses. And obviously, I think the gas station is a little bit different. I don't know what his percentage is on how much profit is made walking in compared to people filling up gas. I'm not in that business, so I don't know if the dollars are bigger on the gas side or the dollars are the food and the sodas and that kind of stuff that are bought inside. But how does he recoup what he's losing? He's an essential business, so technically he's been open all this time, and nobody's really sitting there saying, hey, you know what, here's some money for you because you got less customers now. That's something that I to be honest with you, didn't really consider. I look at Walmart, Costco, McDonald's, Burger King, as they're probably killing it right now because there's a lot more people going there. I could be wrong because there's a lot of people staying at home, but I'm going to be honest with you. And Jerry has to kind of pick up on this one too. I'm going to be honest. I haven't gotten a phone call. I haven't gotten an email. I haven't gotten a text. I haven't gotten a walk-up of any official in any of the city I'm in, the county I'm in, or anybody that has said anything to me, asked me to close, said anything all I'm getting my stuff from is from the news and what I'm listening to. And for me, and I'm sure Jerry, I'm going to guess you didn't get a call. I don't know if Gilbert got a call and where he's getting his information, but that's the biggest problem is there's.
I think we might have lost Chris. His screen has frozen.
Am I there now?
Go ahead. Repeat that sentence because
I froze.
You froze. You buffered.
I froze.
Well, you didn't freeze. Technology froze. Time froze.
Well, my thing is, the information, there is none. The only information we're getting is what we're seeing on the TV. You go to CDC website, you read that kind of stuff. You go to your county websites. I'm sure that there's some information on there, but there's nothing real time, and there's not one person in California or in my county or in my city that has picked up a phone and said, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, here's how we can help you. That is unacceptable, I think, for all of our businesses.
So you mean there's a level, it sounds like a big level of disappointment from you as far as the community standards?
I think it's a disappointment that my city, mind you, there's only two places of entertainment in my whole city, and I'm Fremont, one of the biggest cities in California, right? They haven't even taken the time to give me a call to see, even if I'm open, if I'm closed.
Right.
Is it, I don't want to say it's not, it doesn't irritate me because of that. It's just, if I'm not getting it, I know other businesses aren't getting it. And maybe the only businesses that are the ones that are corporate businesses that mean more than I do as a small business. And, I'm sure that's out there.
Like the hotels or.
Right. But I mean, maybe they haven't been talked to either. There's no communication at all, except for the communication that we're having right now, or that we have with other business owners personally. Other than that, there's no communications about anything except for all the gibberish and all of the stuff that you see on TV. And to be honest with you, I've turned it off. It changes every second.
Okay. Well, how about you guys, Jerry, Gil? Are you frustrated too? Are you getting that same thing, or are you making attempts to reach out as well? I don't. What are your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Gilbert. Go ahead.
Well, as a matter of fact, we got to a point when we we kept the business open as an essential. I discussed it. I have a partner too, and we decided if we're gonna close or we're gonna open. And my main goal is to stay open, as Chris said. Better be open than be closed, because it has many positivity for your employees, people who work for you. They were like loyal to you. And in business, sometimes you make money. And when things change, you cannot just freak out. You know what? Within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I cannot make it. I'm gonna shut down. So you have to have a positive attitude towards anything you do. Now, you'll ask me, are you prepared to be for 3 months, for 4 months, for 5 months? I don't know. I'm trying to play it day by day and try to maintain what's going on as the news, because as Chris said, there is no communication. We received letters from health department. They said, if you don't comply, we're gonna shut you down. And these are people, they just go and knock on you and say, and they don't appreciate what do you do. I'm taking risk by having my employees working during this time, even from the beginning. You know how hard there is, because you care for them. It's not they've been working for me for 10 years.
Okay.
And you need more employees too,
Let me cut you off, Jerry. You're in a completely different sort of microcosm because you're in Ventura, smaller city. What about you? Are you getting the same sort of vibe that Gil and Chris have going on?
4 of my employees went off on unemployment. I was able to keep one girl who hadn't worked for me for very long and was not eligible for unemployment, and I needed somebody to help me work in the business. And I think I told you some of that last week, Daniel.
Yeah.
Years ago, my wife insisted that we join the Chamber of Commerce. And I did not want to do that. She says, no, we need to stay connected to the business community. And I think it's about $50 a month or something like that. Believe it or not, we've got no communication from the city or the county of Ventura, zero. But the Chamber of Commerce, of all people, are sending us emails telling us what's going on, the latest information that they're getting, because they are kind of the representative of the business community in Ventura, as in most cities in the United States. And they provided some very good information. They've also provided some information about getting some grants and loans through the SBA and whatnot. Although we got turned down, we at least had a glimmer of hope that we could apply. We applied, it was shut down right away. Yeah. But they've provided some information that I think is helpful.
Okay,
so
Chris,
communicating something.
Chris, do you have any ties with Chamber of Commerce up in Fremont?
Not in Fremont. I did Mountain View when I was in Mountain View. I have not with Fremont. It's a totally different feel. The Mountain View was definitely something I was into. But Fremont, when I first got there, that let's just say there wasn't a lot of entertainment business, and there was a lot of it probably something I probably could have done, but it just was one of those things that wasn't it wasn't top of the list, to be honest with you.
Okay. I don't think this is a huge oversight on your part. I still think that, be that as it may, you're probably, I appreciate what you're saying. You're not happy with how the community's been informing you. Local agencies have not been informing you, or even been, that's a very valid point. And it does seem a shame that, it takes something like being a member of a paid service like the Chamber of Commerce to qualify for, public domain information that should be available to everybody, and also services. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to move on. I don't want us to, focus too heavily on one subject at a time, but this does actually segue into my next question, which is, if you did have to open tomorrow, because I know you guys are saying, and I agree with you, both of you, Chris and Jerry, that I think business is going to open a lot quicker than we think. I think there's a lot of skepticism out there, and people are worried that they're not going to open for months. But I agree with you. I think we're just going to end up pushing the doors open. I think that the community is going to overwhelm these agencies, and we're going to have to just open. That being said, if you were to open tomorrow, and I kind of asked the same question of Jerry, but this requires a little bit different answer. If you had to open tomorrow, do you already have systems in place that you're ready to commit to, whether or not it be, methods of prevention? What level of responsibility do you think you hold? Whether or not you feel wholly responsible to protect people, or whether or not people should be taking their own responsibility to protect themselves. Suffice to say, if you were to open tomorrow, what sort of systems are you ready to put in place?
Jerry, you go first.
Well, my career is a nurse, so I know a lot about infection control.
Right.
And fortunately, that's a good background for me. So I feel very well prepared to train my staff. We already have to have food handler's license. Chris knows about that, certification and whatnot, washing your hands and so forth and so on. And I think, as I mentioned to you previously, Daniel, I'm going to have my staff wear a mask, and I'm going to increase the frequency of their hand washing. And I almost certain, if I was told I could open tomorrow, I am going to make my customers wear some kind of face covering, not necessarily a mask, N95 mask, but some kind of face covering. I don't really believe that they work, but I think that they work psychologically in terms of the comfort level of other people. So for that reason, and maybe that reason only, I'm going to have my customers can't come in unless they have a face covering until I'm told that they don't have to.
Okay.
But that's what I'm going to do.
Chris?
Well, do we have an hour to talk about this?
No, we don't. Maybe later on the phone.
If they gave me a call today and said open tomorrow, I am not ready, and I don't think any business is ready to open tomorrow. There's still a shortage of sanitizer. There's definitely a shortage of gloves. I'm having a hard time getting gloves right now just for the kitchen. So these are the things, and I think that's why they're holding a lot of this up, is because there's not enough protective gear out there for the whole business community. Second, and I'm really mixed on this. So let's go to the masks. I agree with Jerry to a point on the masks. For me, are just more to make people feel comfortable. I don't really believe that they're going to help anybody either catch it or give it away. The one thing that I'm worried about in my type of business, Jerry, you know this as well, and I'm sure that Gilbert, you've had to deal with this. I don't need to get robbed by somebody that's got a mask on. And this is already happening in other states. As soon as they opened up their business and required masks on, guys are coming in there and robbing them because they got full. I guess it depends on what type of mask, because that's more of what I'm looking at. I mean, on Halloween, we don't allow masks in because of that potential of somebody coming in and robbing. So an N95 mask, I'm okay with. You want to start putting a full face mask or full around the head mask that I can only see your eyes and you come in, that scares me more for me and my business and my personnel than this virus does, because it's too easy and right now everybody's broke. There's a lot of broke, unemployed people out there, and they will do whatever they got to do to put food on the table. So that concerns me about the mask. The other thing that I'm going to be a little bit on the fence on, and some people aren't going to like it, but I don't think it's my responsibility to cover every single thing in my business for people. I do own a restaurant. We do take care of it like we're supposed to. We are required from the health department. I don't mind giving people sanitizer, but the reality is I think everybody needs to carry their own sanitizer. They need to carry their own products with them. This is their responsibility. They got to stop putting all the responsibility on all of the businesses, because I don't think that that's right. It is their choice to walk in my door. It is their choice to do what they're going to do. I'm going to protect health department wise as much as I can, but pool rooms, what am I supposed to do? Wipe down the tables every single time, wipe down the balls, which we do anyway already. Wipe down every stick. So am I supposed to pull every stick in and sanitize them every single time one goes out? Do I not put sticks out at all? Do I only let people that have their own cues come in? There are so many variables for a pool room that I don't think that there is any guideline that we can absolutely make somebody safe. So do I think I'm ready to open tomorrow? No, not if they think that I'm going to be a hospital for people to walk into. Hospitals right now, people aren't even walking into because they're afraid. And if a hospital can't guarantee your safety, how can a pool room guarantee your safety?
So
Good point, Chris.
So this is an extremely good point, because what you're essentially saying is, if you're going to touch it, you should wipe it. Is that correct?
I believe, this is my plan. I do have a plan. Don't get me wrong. I have a plan to help. I'm not going to be just, come on in. You know what? I don't care what you got on. It don't matter as long as you got cash. That's not how it's going to work. The reality is, am I going to pull sticks in? Most likely. That was a thought I had on March 15th, because I was already planning on what we had to do to stay open. Already telling my employees, look, if you don't want to work, go home. I don't want anybody that that's afraid or that's afraid for their health. I'm not going to force you to be there, and I can't. That's not something I'm going to do. So we already were kind of planning every other table, knock off, every other table, so there's more of a spread. I actually have 6 foot spread on every table I have. I'm actually one of the pool halls, and this is, and Jerry, this as well. I could shove another 20 tables in my room if I wanted to, but I keep that spread to keep people safe for other things. So even knocking out every other table was a thought. Pulling all of the sticks off the rack and keeping them behind the counter and wiping them down as they come in and out, people checking them just like they would balls. That's easy, and I don't think that's that big of a deal. We wash the balls every single time somebody's coming in and out anyway. So the biggest problem that we have as a pool room is the tables. The tables are the hard part. So the reality is, as somebody plays on it, and I'm going to limit an amount of people, as soon as they're done, I got to have somebody go over there and at least spray the table. Now, here's the problem, and I don't know, Jerry, maybe you can help me out on this one. Is the virus going to stick to the cloth? Is it going to stick to the chalk? Is it going to stick to just the tables? Is it going to stick to the chairs? There's so many things that we can't clean it all. It's just not going to happen. So, I think that the people that come in my room are going anywhere, grocery stores, need to take responsibility for their own safety and wash their hands and do what they're supposed to do to keep themselves safe. Washing your hands and keeping yourself sanitized is still the best way of keeping it away from you. So I just don't know if it's too excessive for all of the stuff the businesses are trying to do. Plastic, gloves. The gloves don't make any sense. It sticks on the gloves. So having the gloves on every single day is still spreading it. So it doesn't matter.
It seems like much like if you look at the law of drunk driving in California, the state of California, it's all about liability, where you can actually blow a good test. A policeman can, make you use the breathalyzer. You can still blow a good test, and they can still hold you for 2 hours because of the liability involved. Whether or not they think you are, fit to get back into that car, because of the liability involved with the state of California, it seems that we've got to be careful not to get all of this lost in liability where, people are going to start, trying to sue because they got the coronavirus at a 7-Eleven or something like that, So I would agree with you 100%, Chris, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot with an opinion of, or anything, but, essentially it does sound like what you're saying is that it should be a shared responsibility between the public and between the person providing that service to the community. Am I right?
Absolutely. I think it actually, to be honest with you, I think it falls more, to me, 75% more towards the individual, 25% businesses. I mean, personally, I take care of myself. I take care of my family. I think everybody else is doing the same thing. Let me just hit on the liability just real quick.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get sued and nobody's going to be liable. And there's a reason why. Because there's no way for them to say where it came from or where you got it from because of the way it acts. Some are taking 2 to 4 to 5 days to even create symptoms. There's no way to track that. So that way, and I know that you have a question for that, so I'll kind of leave that towards that question.
No.
But the reality is there's no way to track where it's going, who's got it, who's going to get it, and where you got it from. It's just not going to happen. So the liability part, I'm more worried about somebody drinking and getting in a wreck than I am worried about somebody catching the virus in my place, because I wouldn't know. I mean, if I got it, I wouldn't know where I got it from, unless it was the only place that you went to. What are you going to do? So I don't see liability being a problem.
Well, that could bring up the subject of contact tracing, which can also be a very controversial subject that we can talk about later. But Jerry?
Well, back to what Chris said for just a second, and this might pertain to Gilbert as well. I do think we have some liability, Chris, with respect to our employees, especially in hand washing.
Yes.
If you have a procedure that you clean the balls every time, and some good duddy comes in there and watches your staff not clean any balls all day and then reports you, or something like that. I agree with you about the hand sanitizer. I don't feel it's my responsibility to have hand sanitizer in there. I think you should have it. It's my responsibility to have a place for you to go to the bathroom, soap in the dispenser, and some paper towels, and some good clean water for you to wash and soap up your hands and dry them off, and you can leave there without any virus on your hands. It's not my responsibility. I agree with you 100% to make this a clinical environment that's free of germs, and because that's impossible. I can't do that. Society can't do that.
It's overwhelming.
I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah. Gil, I have a question for you, because your environment's a little bit different than these guys. You actually provide the service to a lot of seniors. Do you feel like, you're going to have to go the extra mile to sort of cater to those guys?
Yeah, that's the critical subject. In general, pool rooms as a social distancing, if you control it in a way, it's a good example, because any billiard table, if each one of your opponent is on the other side, this is automatically 6 feet. We're talking approximate, huh? We're not like most of the time he's on the other side, or when you shoot, when he's sitting, he can move for you besides the COVID-19. So this is no problem. My only issue is, as Chris and Jerry mentioned, the cleanliness. How physically am I gonna be comfortable playing in a pool room if I see somebody walking in dirty and I don't trust where they've been or how they clean their hands? I think a good way is to sanitize the billiard balls, which is for billiards, we change every game. Maybe cue stick has to be behind the bar. When somebody takes the balls, we can wipe the cue stick very quick. For a public pool room, we're private. Like most of us have billiard cues, our own, so we don't use it from the rack. I'm just trying to come up with things like make the customer or the members more comfortable mentally. It's all, again, it's hard to control, but we have to come up with new ideas that make everybody comfortable so they can go and spend their time and money at the same time. That's what I think it is. We have to clean the rails on the table, the balls for sure, and the cue sticks, if that's the main ones. Besides, if I'm gonna provide them the sanitizer, no, I'm not. Masks, how you limit the mask, you have to, as Chris said, the robberies are being like adding up into the LA area too. And we increase our security and our cautious, because I walk in the bank with my shades all the time and I have a mask. And I told the guy, imagine a month ago, I wouldn't be walking like this. Yeah. You arrest me. Really? Yeah. And now they have 2 security at the bank. They didn't have security at all. And now you see more securities. So more money. That means for the business to control and comply. And this thing is gonna, how you stop it? I mean, what's the limit? Does it make sense? To me, no, it doesn't make sense, because if you're not wearing a mask and you do all of this, and somebody walking into your business and all of a sudden he sneezed within 10 feet or 6 feet, you might get sick, even if you do all of that. So I don't know. I'm too much, but.
Well, can I ask you a question quickly? What do you do at your gas station? Do you if you allow 3 customers in your concession area at a time, so you have like section them off, and then do you have any requirements from your staff? Are they wearing a mask or washing their hand? What do you do with them?
Well, the staff every day, they get their mask, they change it every few hours, their gloves, they wash their hand, because you deal with cash and money. So it's very hard every time you hold the cash, you have a sanitizer, but it's very hard to do this operation. So you have to change. Maybe I go through a box of gloves every day, a box of masks every day for the employees only. And I don't have many, but we have to do this. The customers, when they walk in, we have spots in the floor right now, 6 feet. They made us do it, the health department, that you stand here, so people visually see the marks on the floor, that this is a 6 feet dimension, because many people, they don't know how far is 6 feet. So and besides, coffee business, drink business, like all the fountain drinks, we stopped it. We're not serving this, because people touching the lids and cups, and now you remove 10 lids, dump it in the trash because you don't know if somebody touched it. So it doesn't make sense to have it or serve it or have somebody's like the cashier giving you the stuff. So we eliminate all of this stuff. That's why the business efficiency is not the same, but we have to come up with ideas. And what you guys are talking is I think it's interesting, because I'm learning as we speak. but we main thing is not to freak out. You know, everybody is freaking out. You walk on the street, you wear a mask, and somebody sees you and they stop. And now they wait for you to pass. And this is outside. You know, imagine if you're inside. I'm just talking at this moment. I'm not talking a month from now. So,
I think you know, I got a feel for you guys because you own a business and you're basically trying to get back open again. And for some of you, it's your livelihood. For others of you, it's just your passion. You know, like Jerry, you know, who's you know, he's in a different situation than maybe Chris.
Gilbert
Yeah,
too.
and but maybe Chris's sense of urgency is a little higher than both of you two. However, you know, Gil, you own your own gas station. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is this is probably one of the most difficult situations I can think we've been in. I think we've been in modern history where, you know, you cannot put rules on something that you don't know what the outcome of it is going to be in the first place. So in a way, you kind of just have to open your doors and let people be and let us evolve so that we can find a place, a happy medium. Nobody can dictate to you what that happy medium is going to be. You have to open your door. You have to cross that threshold, and you have to know what's going to work and what's not going to work. That's the only way to do it. You can't speculate an issue like this. Am I making sense here?
Yes, to me you are.
And I actually just want to clarify, because I know that I had said, on the technical side, that there is a four-stage plan to open businesses in California. And Chris had said that he thinks he's stage 4. I just want to clarify to the audience that you guys as pool rooms are not stage 4, are you? Or you're stage 3? I think you're stage 3 businesses. Is that correct?
Well, let me put it this way. I don't know what stages you're talking about because nobody's ever sent me anything about stages. So
Well,
to be honest with you,
you're
I
right.
don't have the time to listen to Governor Newsom, to Trump, to all these people every single day at 9, 10, 11, 12, or whenever they speak. I don't have that time to sit in front of the TV to do that. I've got other stuff to do. So if there is stages, that's the first time I've heard of 4 stages. I've heard something about stages, but to be honest with you, there's stuff on the first stage that they brought out, and then they changed it within 6 hours of them putting it out there, and then readjusted it. So to be honest with you, I just don't think that I don't know what to do. I don't think they know what to do. We're all human. This is a situation that's never happened before. You look at, there's a lot of bad things that have happened within the last 100 years in our country alone. There's some stuff that's worse than this virus, and the country has never been shut down. This was, for me personally, this is a sheep thing. This is something, the virus exists, but it got so panicked that everybody all of a sudden flew to the first thing they can think of, and that was, let's shut it all down. And then, okay, now what do we keep open? Because if we shut everything down, how do people eat? How do people do this? How do people do that? It was easy to shut it down. Now the hard part is to open it back up. And I don't, how do you do that? And like I said, I brought this up earlier, and I wholeheartedly believe this. These stages are here for a reason, because there's not enough stuff out there on the market to keep if we all open up right now, we're going to be worse off, because I'm guaranteeing you right now, the food chain's broke. It's broke. You look at your store now, and I'm going to bring this up real quick. I've been shopping for the last 3 days. I've been shopping for meat. I've been shopping for stuff that prices have already doubled on. I've already got sources that are telling me meat, poultry, all that stuff is going to be out of stock, not just for the businesses, but for people themselves. So if you only got 20% of the business community open right now, the other 80%, and let's just say 80% of the restaurants, if you open them all at the same time, the rush, it will break everything that's out there, and it will be mass chaos, because I guarantee you, as a business owner, I'm gonna get irate, and I'm gonna start beating heads to get product to make money, because I need to. And I think that's what's going to happen. Is it is going to be everybody for themselves all of a sudden. And this is not going to be a month or 2 months. This is going to go on for a year at least. So I think that's why the slowness of what they're doing.
Uh-oh. Chris, we were losing. Oh, I don't even know if he knows.
Am I back?
Chris, yeah, we lost you again. Continue, please.
You know what
the slowness of, they don't want you to speak the truth is what they.
That's right. Right.
They're buffering you for a reason.
I think somebody's listening.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut you off, even though I know you didn't get to finish your thought, but you did say that you think it's going to take at least a year, and I tend to agree with you. There's some things that are just not going to change, maybe for many years. But if you compare the U.S. to China, it took them 3 months to get past it and to get past their curve, and to get to a comfortable position where they're starting to open things back up again. Now, same with South Korea, if I'm not mistaken. 3 months is basically what it took before that curve started to flatten. So, I mean, is it more political here, do you think?
Personally, here I go. I'm interjecting.
Yeah. Sorry.
That you're talking about two places that it started first, and I don't think that food and that kind of stuff is an issue right now with them, because they were the first. I think worldwide, with all this going on, I think that's what's going to affect everything. So I think, did they come back fast? They're a communist state. Who knows if it's all going good right now? They could be throwing bodies off to the side. Who knows, right? So the reality is that this is a global pandemic, and it will be a global mess when it comes to the economy. And I think it'll affect everybody as things open up for a long time. Oil prices, I know that's hitting Gilbert. It has to be. So there's a lot of stuff that it will be affected, I think, through food, through everything, everything in life. I'll let everybody else speak now, since I have my piece.
I'll go ahead and go on up there. I agree with you, and I think it's an unholy marriage mixing medical experts and political types together, because they're not on the same page. A medical person's they'd love to keep us closed for 10 years and never have an outbreak of measles, chickenpox, coronavirus, or whatever. And political types are under pressure because they're elected, and they have a constituency to pay attention to, and they need to get us open. Some are a little more reluctant than others. Some are a little maybe too quick on the draw. I don't know what the answer is to that, but I agree with you. I think the staging of the opening, Chris, you hit the nail on the head. Everything can't get open at the same time. The supply chain cannot handle it. They can't handle it. Can you imagine all the beer and whiskey and hot dogs and chicken and whatever that's going to have to go into all these hotels, all these restaurants, and to the consumer, out of Ralph's and Vaughn's and whatever. And they're not prepared for that. They're not delivering the food now. There's no food going anywhere now except to the markets, and there's not enough on the market level. So where's all the food coming from? Where is it? It doesn't exist. They closed down Tyson. They closed down that pork processing plant in Iowa. We're talking about 2 or 3 companies supply all the meat in the United States, 2 or 3 at most. So maybe they have to stay closed for a while. Maybe would they, even though it's safe to open, they can't because the supply chain won't let them open because there's no supplies. So is that a conspiracy theory? I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe it is. But I just don't see that being realistic. My wife goes to the market. She won't let me go because she claims I'm too old and too fat and too sick. And she goes to the market, and one day it's empty and there's plenty of food, and the next day it's packed and there's no food. Or not no food, but limited selection. Let me put it like that. And what you were mentioning to me yesterday in our conversation about the Cisco, I think it was Cisco you mentioned, that delivers your products, you know, they don't have it. They don't have it. So there you go.
Gil.
Well, you've been talking about merchandise and food and stuff and markets, the way they operate. You know, 2 months ago, you go and get a sanitizer. The 4 ounce used to be 99 cents. 2 weeks ago, 3 of these bottles are $48, just to let you know online. $48. Today's market is the ounce is $1 for sanitizer. Basically, you do it at home. You can do it the same. It's alcohol and you know, just
Aloe vera
and mixture, and now they put it in a package and sell it for you for $9, so you can sell it for 12 or 13 bucks.
Isn't that the American way though, Gil?
You know what? Not that much. High profit. You know, they're still getting a lot of masks in the area now. I purchased the N95 maybe 3 weeks ago for $10 each. Today I found a place for $2.50. The N95. There are many sources are coming, and I think what hoarding happens, people bought many and they put it in storage and they try to control the market. I think product will appear very quickly when businesses start opening at whatever stages, not all at the same time. But people are taking advantage, and they're making a lot of profit. You know, if you go to Costco, you go to these markets, the big one, Target, people are making money. One day you go, you have toilet paper. The next day you don't. You know, and the price go up. It's not the same price. So somebody's making money for sure.
Well, I think these are things that are going to demand extra attention, you know, in the near future. Is we're going to have to start looking at that, and you know, there's going to be all kinds of entrepreneurial, you know, opportunities for different types of people, and we're going to start hearing stories about that if we're not hearing them already. So, you know, I agree. I think though that for the most part, you know, we all have enough common sense to know what's right and what's wrong. You know, so I agree with you. I think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen to the extreme. Although there are certain examples where, you know, we might feel like this just isn't fair. You know, just like the price of gas is going down, we might see the price of things like sanitizer and certain foods go up and stay up, just based on the supply and demand and the food, you know, the actual supply chain that you're talking about.
Yes.
Do you think, when it comes to things like that, like let's talk about employees, for example, or even, just employees at your establishment. Um, some local agencies and governments are going to require that your employees wear gloves or masks. Do you think that you guys are going to have to supply those yourselves, and is that going to have to be a new cost, a new part of your bottom line, or do you feel like, you know what, if you're going to make us wear them, then doggone it, you should supply them? Do you think the government should be assisting you guys, or do you think you're even going to be able to get that stuff? How about that?
I think that I should do everything that's reasonable for my employees. Reasonable. What is that?
Yeah.
I think that if the masks and Gilbert talked about the hand sanitizer, I was gone for a few minutes, and if those are the things that I need to have for my employees, then I should have those for them. Now, am I going to cover them head to toe? No, I'm not. I'm going to do what I think is reasonable. So a mask, gloves, we already have to do that anyway to some degree because of food handling responsibilities. We've got to have them gloved up. We don't have to have them masked up. So I don't think that cost is too much for me to absorb.
You feel like that's negligible then?
I do, but here's a consideration. Chris, I don't know if you have anybody that's a senior citizen that's working for you, but as a room owner, I'm a senior citizen and I have one employee that's a senior citizen. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend in my room because I'm at risk, nor I don't know what I'm going to do with my senior citizen employee who also has some not severe medical problems, but he's got some problems that a lot of people get, some high blood pressure and stuff. He's well into his late 60s. That's just a course of getting old. So what's going to happen there? What if I have to put him off? Is he going to be eligible for employment? Am I going to have to pay him? There's a lot to think about. And myself too. Am I going to even be able to go into my own business when it's busy? I don't know. I didn't even think about that last week, Daniel, when we were talking.
Yeah.
And Gilbert, you have a lot of seniors in your room too.
Yeah, that's the toughest part. And honestly, if everything we start opening up next, they're saying by next Friday, maybe. I was talking to the management and they said they're waiting for the green light for the Elks Lot to open next Friday. They haven't got the green light, they're waiting, but they're assuming, huh? But again, even if we're open, I'm gonna come up with rules, and because I have to protect the members and protect the people. But in my case, it's different because we're like a family. We have 50 members. They're the same members, right? They go home, they come play. They're the same people every day. So they eat together, they come back for 3 hours and they leave there. But for open business, when you talk like 30 billiards, 30 pool tables or like a big space, higher occupancy, how you control it? You have to set rules. You have to do something just to make everybody comfortable. I think, I'm not saying to be extremely, but you have to have a house rule, and that's the toughest part.
I would love to see you tell George Arnak that he needs to not come in so much anymore.
No. I talk to him every day.
George Aranek, incidentally, is almost 93 years old, for those who don't know.
Well, George, you need to stay home for a while. Don't come in.
He's been going out and eating outside, like curbside. He pick up his food, you know what I mean? And
yes,
he's been active. But I'm saying in general, I'm gonna, for billiards playing area, we're not gonna get affected. I mean, we cannot have 4 people on the same table, which is we rarely have. But to play a game on a billiard table has no issue. The only issue is the social aspect of it. When 5-6 people sit on a table on the side and they have a drink and they start talking and they're very close to each other, that's what I'm worried about. Mm-hmm. Because I don't have any knowledge about the virus, how it spread. They're telling us this way, mm-hmm. But I have no clue, honestly. All I know is people wearing masks, keep 6 feet distance, which doesn't make sense even in a small closed space when you have air conditioning and this thing spreads through the ventilation. And so you don't know. I mean, how you stop it? It could be somebody in the kitchen, and it goes into your vents, and you know. So you don't know, but you have to take a little bit measures. Try to cut down the risk. I think it doesn't have to be extreme, and we go from there. We have to evolve with time, and till this thing is clear. The only time it's gonna be clear, I think, till everybody having vaccine or wherever something, because we're scared. Honestly, people, not myself, but people on the street are scared.
So we've been talking now for an hour and a half. It's been 90 minutes. Do you guys want to continue talking? Do you want to take a break, or do you want to keep going? I don't want to keep you guys for too long. I do have several other questions, issues that I want to maybe address with you guys. How do you guys feel right now? You want to take 10 minutes and come back, or you want to continue for another like 20 minutes or so?
I'm honestly good until 8 o'clock, so I have half an hour more.
29 minutes, okay. Jerry, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay. So let me ask you a little bit about, now you guys all have might have a different perspective on this. Gil, you own your own land and your own property. So do you, Jerry. But you might have opinions on this that are helpful for us. Chris, you're a renter. You rent the space that you're in. What do you think about the landlord-tenant relationship currently when it comes to businesses that are struggling? I know that, a lot of people could argue that this pandemic can be viewed as an act of God, right? So why should a tenant even be responsible for the rent at this point, where an act of God like a hurricane or a tornado falls on the responsibility of the landlord? And I don't want to call, this out to start a controversy, but I really think all of your opinions are valuable here. What do you think? What do you think the guy that's struggling right now to get the rent in next month, or even wasn't even able to get the rent in this month? What do you think should happen there?
Can I go first?
Please.
I think it's tough all over the place. Relationships with your landlords are number one, obviously. When it comes to this being an act of God, if it's not in your lease, it doesn't matter. The reality is, and anybody that knows leases, you miss your payment or you're short on your payment, that landlord can drop that lease in a heartbeat and kick you out. That's just reality.
Okay.
I'm hoping 90% of landlords out there don't want to do that, because, again, this thing's going to last years. So I think that they would rather have a business that can operate in their space than kick them out and try to find somebody that will rent back in at either the same prices or it's going to be less. So that's on a landlord, and you guys can speak about that. Me personally, I got 20% help. That's basically what I got. Can I sit there? I mean, I've got other people now. I'm in a complex, and we have other renters that are in the complex. Now, there are some of those renters that are either paying half or not paying at all. I had a conversation today with one of them that basically paid half last month, is not going to pay this month. He asked me why I'm not doing that. And my opinion is, one, I've got the money to be able to pay it. So the lease is the lease. That's the reality. I don't want any friction or any more friction, because I don't need it, with a landlord that is already redoing the building and charging outrageous prices for new rent for new people that are coming in when I have a 15,000 square foot facility. It's easy to chop up, make money off of. So I would rather be at peace, pay my way like I'm supposed to. They can't kick me out because I'm paying my lease, because I might need to negotiate later on down the road. And I guarantee you that will help. It'll help when they can't sit there and go, you know, when this situation happened, you know, you took our help and you needed help and yada, yada, yada. They can't, there's no holding that with me anymore. But I know that there's landlords out there that are helping this, can add it to the back of the lease. I think I'll do this real quick. I think our state, our government, the whole of the United States should have put a moratorium on rent. And anybody that's in a lease, now I'm talking businesses, anybody that's in a lease should have went 3 to 4 months. I mean, let's say 3 months, either half rent or full rent, but add it to the end of the lease. Give your businesses that are closed making zero, give them a chance to get through 3 months. Add it to the end of the lease. Easy to do. More money at the end of the lease because the rent's going to be higher to begin with. So it's like giving you a small loan and giving that little bit of interest at the end of the lease. I would have been comfortable. I'd rather of them not give me 20% and just say, hey, you know what? Let's add 3 months. We're not going to charge you rent. Let's add 3 months. Or actually, to be honest with you, I would have brought up 4 months, half rent each month. And then that way we'll add 2 months at the end. And then basically you're only paying, 50% per month. That would have helped. But landlords have bills too, and they have mortgages and they have leases. So the only way that this worked, and I talked with Jerry about this before, it should have stopped from the bottom to the top, everything. All mortgages, all loans, all leases, everything should have just been put on hold for everybody from the top to the bottom, and it wouldn't have affected anybody. It would have just been a pause for 3 months, everything shut down. So that way, even the top end, they don't have to pay, the middle don't have to pay, and the bottom doesn't have to pay. Does it sound like something that's hard to do? They just shut the whole country down. It can't be that hard. I'll let everybody else speak.
I don't know who may have bright people thought about what you just said, but think about it a second. People that own property and buildings and whatnot, they could have paused on all rent, all mortgage, all whatever for 3 months, and the government could have given them a tax credit, not a tax deduction, a tax credit. So whatever tax you may owe, you get $1 for dollar off that. And if you didn't owe any taxes, you'd get a rebate from the federal government. So everyone would be guaranteed to be in their building, in their home, in their parcel for, like you say, 3 months. Let's pick 3 months as an example. For me, I bought my landlord was very good to me. He gave me 30 cents a square foot when I opened, but he did no tenant improvement. He helped me. I had to do everything. I had to re-electrify the building, put air conditioning in, build out the bathrooms, all that was out of our pocket. And I improved his building. I was lucky that he sold it to me. I got really lucky. I didn't realize what I was doing. I thought, okay, I'm paying, $1,200-1,500 a month rent, no problem.
Wow.
And then I realized, that's when I first opened. But I spent, $150,000 on tenant improvement, that's not mine. It's his.
Wow. You're a nice guy, Jerry.
Yeah,
You really
I am.
are.
So I said, oh, John, that was his name. I said, my wife actually did the negotiation, and we came up with a price, and I hurry up and bought it after about 6 years, and 6-7 years. And to fast forward to exactly what the subject that we're on, I owe very little money on my building, very little. I could pay it off tomorrow and no problem. But I went to my lender because I got an SBA loan, and they paused my loan payments until October with no interest and no penalties and no late fees or any of that. So that was the only break I got out of this whole thing, was a pause on my loan to October.
Mm-hmm. So the banks have worked with you a little bit.
A bank.
A bank. Chris, what about the payroll protection program for you? Did you apply for that? Did you get any result? Do you feel like they need to work with you a little harder? What's going on there?
All I can say is read the fine print.
Okay.
I don't, the reality is I don't need another loan. I don't need to go more in debt.
Okay.
The triple P thing, I think, has worked for certain individuals that are connected with their banks. If you've been a long customer with your bank and you're a really good customer, this seemed to have worked out. But if you're not careful with the small print on that loan, first off, everything will be forgiven. No, that doesn't happen. Somewhere, they're going to get their money. That's what they're going to get. But the reality is, that was set up for the employees. Now they sit in there and they go, oh yeah, it's for the employees, it's for your mortgage, it's for your PG&E, right? Okay, but then they put the stipulation of 75% of it's got to go to your employees.
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody, my mortgage is about the same as my payment out to my employees per month. There's no way I'm doing 75% and I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage. It doesn't happen. So the reality is what they tried to do is they used us as businesses and banks to put people on this program to keep them off unemployment, because unemployment's a freaking mess right now.
Yeah,
so instead of just taking all that money and loaning it out, by the way, instead of taking that money that they did for the triple P and just put it in unemployment and got everybody paid on time, that would have solved all of the problems unemployment-wise with employees. What they decided to do is, and I'm going to say this as gently as I can, your government's not a government anymore. Your government's a business. They like to make money. They shouldn't. It's a government. This is what they do. They're smart. They give you out money to take care of your employees that should have been taken care of from unemployment with their own money. So now they're lending you money that you're going to have to pay back with everything else that you got to pay back because you've been shut down. So I think, first off, a lot of businesses didn't get it. A lot of businesses still haven't got it. Where all that money's gone, that's a big question for me. That's a hell of a lot of money that they put out there. And there's only a very small handful of people that I know that got approved for that loan. Now, whether they got it in the bank yet, I don't know. But where'd all that money go? The problem is they are making money on that money, and you're going to have to pay it back. If you only pay 74.2% to your employees, guess what? Not forgiven anymore. And now you owe the whole amount plus, I think it's 1%, because I think it was at 0.05. Then the banks added 0.5%. So the banks can make money off of it. And then it was thrown out. So yeah, the government is not really helping like they probably should have. They're using small businesses to pay what they should have taken care of, and only a very few.
Let me digress 1 second. My neighbor is a woman who's raising a child by herself, and she's a beautician. And she is paying rent on a small beauty shop that has 5 chairs in it. And she rents out 4 of the chairs, which a lot of cosmetologists, beauticians do. These ladies will work 2 or 3 days for 10 hours a day, and then they don't want to work. They want to be home with their families, and they pay the person who's on the hook for the rent, $300 a week or whatever, $400 a week or whatever. So my neighbor she's on the lease. She's got to pay it. She's shut down, can't do any business. So she's got to pay all the rent. She's got nothing coming in. She's a single mother. She's trying to send her kid to college this year because he's graduating, virtual graduation. And I was talking to her that I felt terrible for her. She was earning a decent living, enough to make a house payment, make a car payment, save a little money for her kid to go to school. And now she's got nothing coming in, 0. And she didn't qualify because she doesn't have employees. But so she doesn't get the rent part. She doesn't get the money for the rent. She got the stimulus check for $1,200, but that only covers, 3/4 of a month or half a month's rent. So that's what's going on. That just to back up what you were saying, Chris.
And it's probably the same story times millions all across the country. And it's, it's a sad thing to see. And, I just pray for all of you guys. I hope that nobody asked for this. This is not something anybody asked for. And obviously, too, we all accept it to a certain extent, don't we? I mean, this is a disease. This is something that puts people in danger. We have to have a certain level of acceptance here so that we can protect ourselves, our families, and that we can move on. But nobody's asking for the complications that we're suffering from here. And, bottom line is, you all own businesses. You all want to open up tomorrow, but it's not something that you would like to, get the green light on just by watching CNN. You'd like some sort of, you'd like to feel like you're being protected, and that you can. This is a frustrating situation. I mean, it's a frustrating situation. I don't know what the right and the wrong thing is here, but mistakes are being made. Obviously, we can see that. And it seems like the people that are making the least amount of the mistakes are you guys. You guys are just the victims of it all. So, I don't know what's the right thing to do here. I want you guys to open up. And for those who don't know, I actually have some bias here because you guys are my clients. I live stream at your venues. You guys put money in my pocket when I come and I turn cameras on and I promote pool and billiards. There's not much promoting of pool and billiards anymore. There's just promoting life and trying to get you guys back on track. So it's kind of like,
I think when you're an entrepreneur, however successful or moderately successful you might be, when the bathroom toilet leaks and your bathrooms are flooded out, you don't sit there and wring your hands and go, woe is me. You just get the mop bucket and clean it up and get going again.
Exactly.
When the staff didn't come that's supposed to come, you just put on your apron or whatever and go to work and deal with it. You don't like it. No one likes it, but you just deal with it. And I'm sure, Gilbert, you've been involved in situations like this too. When the roof leaks, you fix it. Mm-hmm. And you just get on with it. If you sit there and hand wring and woe is me, you're not going to make it. To be an entrepreneur, to be in business, you have to take a lot of defeat for a few victories. And hopefully the victories in the end will outweigh the small punches that you got. But I am not happy about the way small business people have been treated. It's not a political, particularly a Democrat or Republican thing for me. I think anybody in office probably would have been doing the same exact thing that's I'm seeing right now. I don't think it's a Republican or Democrat thing. I think no one knows what to do. We don't have a dynamic leadership right now, in my opinion. And I think that all that we can do in our position is to just stay the course, get yourself ready to open, figure out, maybe if you got to adjust your menu, whatever, figure it out and get on with it. In other words, get out of my way, government. Let me just do my thing and let me go. Let me do what I need to do.
Yeah, and in a way, I kind of feel like maybe this is the way to proceed. What do you guys think?
Well, I just want to add something to Jerry's what he was saying. We need. I would love everybody to support the small businesses. In the past 5, 6, 7 years, I don't think many people has been doing it. And these extravagant rents, 15, 20,000, 30,000 a month, need to reset somehow. We have a problem. If you think about it in details, the system proved in the last few years that we have an issue. It's impossible for a business that runs $25,000 a month on the rent. I don't care how much you make. There are things wrong, you know, and I'm not here to judge or to, there are things that you have to make sense by the end of the day. I agree with Jerry 100%, and Chris, you have to take the initiative. You have to work harder. You have to be creative nowadays to make it. Otherwise, you'll be out. And we take all the risk on a daily basis. We take on the risk. Chris has a big business. Jerry has one. It's a risky. You know, you take a lot of time, a lot of effort to put this together, and at the end, no one's here to help you. It's only you. No, not the government, not the landlord, no one, not the banks, not the insurance. It's you and the quality and the customers and the relationship you build with time. That's your asset. And that's what we need to focus on and keep moving. And we're going to go through this. I have no doubt. I believe in it. I mean, this is what happened, unfortunately, for everybody. I'm fortunate that I still have a little bit income, but my income actually is not an income. I'm losing money on a daily basis. You know, I'm only operating 20% of my gross. So I'm losing money. How long I can keep this? I'm positive. I pray, and I think maybe within a month, things will start go back to not normal, the new normal, but at least we see a light out of the tunnel. And I wish everybody the best and stay motivated and stay positive. I think the key is to stay positive. Don't give up.
Do you guys have any final thoughts? I mean, there are so many issues that we haven't covered, we haven't talked about. I didn't even get to touch on the subject of contact privacy, contact tracing, which is a controversial subject to say the least, but we do not have to visit that at this one. I just want to be able to give you a chance. Is there any way you can provide our viewers with some optimism? Is there a message of hope here that you guys can share with us?
Jerry, you first.
Well, I'm the hopeful one
Chris,
here.
Chris, you wanted to go first last time. You don't want to go first anymore.
As I don't have anything nice to say, so I'm going to start with Jerry first.
Okay, so we're all cue men. We like the game. Pool, billiards, we're cue men. We like our cues. We like to play. And while I've been closed, I've been doing a lot of work in there and whatnot, but I've also had a lot of time on my hands. And I can tell you that I'm playing pool sometimes 5-6 hours by myself, and I'm having just as much fun at 72 years of age as I did when I was 16 years old. Because I can escape in the game a little bit. I'm bringing this full circle. I can escape in the game a little bit and enjoy the patterns I'm playing, the thoughtfulness that I have on my shot selection. I enjoy that. So I'm able to diffuse a little bit, to enjoy it a little bit. And it's because of my love of the game that I'm in business. I want to make a little money, yes, but I love the game. I love to play. I love the people that I meet, you folks that I know, the relationships that I establish. And that's what keeps me going. And that's what I enjoy. And that's my story.
Okay. Gil?
Well, Jerry said it all, actually. We love the game and we want to maintain it by any price. And I don't think this is going to stop us from playing the game. I miss playing. I haven't played since the pandemic. I mean, we're still waiting. and I'm really thirsty and to play the game and spend time with people, the camaraderie, everybody I know that it's part of my daily life. And nothing is going to stop us. This thing is going to be over. Just maintain our system, our health, and our mentally we have to be strong. That's the only thing that can help us at this moment. And I wish everybody a little bit luck. You need a little bit luck.
Mm-hmm. Chris?
Okay. So, yes, I'll put a positive face on it. But the reality is, and I know all four of us are going to say this exact same thing. I'm tired of hearing how positive everything is on TV and on the radio and how we all got to be together to do this. It's getting tiring. We need to be realistic. The realistic is this is something that's going to hurt for a while. I can't wait for the doors to open. I can't wait for people that I haven't seen in a while. That's all great. But the reality is if we don't have people that walk in that door, and yes, I'll have my smiley face on for you, we can't exist, and we're not going to exist. But the reality is it is about friendship. It's about just seeing people. I today, speaking with you guys and talking this out makes things feel better. And that's what people need to do. We're all missing talking crap to each other and how ornery and how we got screwed on the game or how we missed a shot or how that dude, I can't believe he won that game. Those are the things that people need. It needs to be, and that's why I think that's more essential. It makes people feel better. And right now, that's what we don't have, you know. And at 6 feet away, can we do that? Absolutely. I can yell at you from 6 feet away. But the reality is everybody needs to just get up, get out, and just go slow. I don't want to rush. I don't think anybody does. I don't think any business does. But I think we just want to get a starting point. And right now, besides Gilbert, our doors are shut. There is no start right now. So until that happens, it's hard for me to be absolutely positive. I'm positive just by talking to Jerry, to be honest with you. Yesterday, talking to him fueled me for doing what I was doing today. So, and watching him on Sunday fueled me for calling him and talking to him. These are the kind of things that need to get done because you need to talk to people and get stuff out. That'll make you happy. So, yes, I'll have my smiley face, but the reality is not everything is pretty. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for spending time with me on this broadcast or on this recording. This has been a very important meeting. You're all friends of mine, and I value you guys, and really want you guys to get through this. And I look forward to the day that we all can get back together and laugh about good times, have good times again, and laugh about this. Hopefully, be able to see some humor in this in retrospect. Most of all, I think we covered a lot of subjects here, and a lot of people know me as a pool promoter and as a live streamer and a sports commentator. But I think because of this pandemic, whether it be by choice or just by necessity, I think my purpose is changing slightly. I hope that by bringing you guys together and forming this sort of symposium with each other, that we can solve some of these problems that are not being solved for us. And I'll agree with you guys that, maybe the hardest part of this lays ahead when we do open the doors and when we can start to experience some of the freedoms that we had no less than 2 months ago. And so, I just hope that all of you guys get through this because I don't think the hardest part. I think the hardest part lays ahead of us. You know, I don't think we've gotten through the hardest of it yet. So, you know, I just want you guys to know you're all my friends. I'll do anything I can within my power to help you guys. And if there is anything I can do, you know, my line is open. Okay, guys?
Okay. Gilbert, Chris, see ya. Daniel, thank you.
You're welcome. And I want you guys all stay in touch with each other. You guys are nice.
Gilbert, I'm gonna come out there when you're open and have you put a whipping on me playing some.
No, next week you mean?
Not next week, but
Next week.
Next week would be great.
Okay.
And Chris, I'll be coming up to see you too.
I hope so.
Chris, I would like to visit your room too. I've never been there, so I would like to go. Even Jerry too, both of you.